Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, like, join it or something.
Hey everyone, Lucamus Prime here. So, it is time for another video in my series of movies that deserve a sequel. Now, in today's video, guys, I'm going to cover this time an example of a zombie movie, which, in my opinion, deserves a sequel. And this is one of my favourite post-apocalyptic horror film sequels, and is a sequel to one of my favourite horror movies of all time in general. And this film, guys, which in my opinion deserves a sequel, is none other than 2007's 28 Weeks Later. So, when it comes to, of course, what I think of both the movies so far, I absolutely love 28 Days Later. I think it's a horror movie masterpiece, one of Danny Boyle's greatest works I've ever seen. It's an absolutely brilliant movie, in my opinion. When it comes to the second movie, 28 Weeks Later, I think it's a very good sequel, and definitely, in my opinion, underrated as well. And sure, it might not be as good, in my opinion, as the first movie, of course, but I think 28 Weeks Later is a very good sequel and a nice continuation of what happened in the first film with of course, this whole infected virus, of course, of rage. So, yeah, it was a nice continuation, in my opinion. So, and I would really love it if this film had a sequel, of course, absolutely. Because when it comes to the ending of this movie, it ends on a cliffhanger because due to, of course, the events of the movie, there is, of course, another outbreak in, of course, in a safe zone called District 1, and the zombies, of course, spread around, and they escape the bombardments of the district, and they go through, of course, the undergrounds, and they're able to go all through the tunnel, and they enter Paris. So this confirms that the virus has spread to Europe, so the stakes are much higher now at the end of this movie. So, despite the main characters escaping London, unfortunately, the worst is yet to come, because the film ends on a cliffhanger showing that the zombies have now travelled, and they're now international. Also, yeah, the virus of the rage has gone global, so yeah, oh dear. So, when it comes to the future of this franchise, there has been, of course, talks of a potential sequel or in the future. And Danny Boyle said he's got a story for a next movie, which has been planned out as well. And so it's good that he's got a plan for it, and I wonder what he could also call it. I mean, there's been talks he could probably call it 28 months later. Wouldn't be a bad title, maybe even 28 years later, depending on how it goes. And also as well, but Danny Boyle has also met with other writers to discuss preparations for a third film. So it's good that Danny Boyle wants to do a third movie, because I definitely would love to see a third movie after the terrifying cliffhanger of the second film, which shows the zombies are now gone global now, of course. And also as well, in the recent times of the 2020s decade, both Imogen Poots, who is in this movie, of course, as Tammy, who is the daughter of the main character, Dawn, she expressed interest in returning, and so did Cillian Murphy, who of course plays my favourite character in the franchise, Jim, from 28 Days Later. Now, when it comes to returning characters, for me personally, guys, I would only be happy if Jim came back alongside Celine, of course, from the first movie, because one of my qualities with 28 Weeks Later is probably that the children were very annoying characters, in my opinion. They were reckless and stupid, in my opinion. And they were nowhere near as smart or as badass or as likeable or as memorable, in my opinion, as Jim from 28 Days Later. Or maybe even as likeable as Selena, in my opinion. So that's why I really hope if they do a third film that they bring back Jim in this. I mean, because the ending of course, 28 Days Later shows that he's survived and recovering in a cottage. So there's a chance that he could probably return later on, working maybe for like the military, of course, fighting the rage virus with them. So that could be pretty cool, couldn't it, really? We could see him in action, because the ending of 28 Days Later shows a Finnish pilot picking him and Selena and Hannah up from their cottage. So this third film could probably show that Jim has settled in Finland and he's helping them combat the virus, of course, now that it's spreading globally. So that could be really cool, couldn't it? Yeah, I'd love to see that. Because there's a chance the virus could end up going global in this next movie. So the potential for this third film is pretty insane, really. So that's why I really hope we get more of these movies in the future. I really do. I mean, it's unfortunately been a while since the last movie because 28 Weeks Later, of course, was 2007. And it's 2023 now, so it's 16 years later. And unfortunately, we haven't got anything in yet, really, which is a shame. So I really hope that they do, you know, a third film as soon as possible, really. I mean, it's good that Cillian Murphy is interested in returning, though, which I'm happy about because he's my favourite character in the franchise, of course, playing Jim. So, yeah. So I really hope that he'll come back in this next movie, of course, because yeah, 28 Days Later was an absolute masterpiece, and Jim was a great character who was very smart and knew what he was doing, and was also, in my opinion, more likable than the children main characters in 28 Weeks Later. So yeah, hopefully they'll do a third film where Jim comes back as a main character, and we see that he's now fighting the rage virus alongside the military or something. That could be really cool to see, really. I mean, I've always imagined that this third film could probably involve France being taken over by the rage virus, and then the virus then spreads to countries, you know, next to France and all that. Like, that could the potential for, you know, what could happen in the third film is pretty massive, really. So hopefully there's a chance that the third film could probably have the biggest stakes of all the movies, really. Because the ending of 28 Weeks Later has, like, higher stakes, of course, because it shows that the virus is now going global. So, yeah. Hopefully, this third film can show, you know, how dangerous the virus is. Absolutely. So, yeah. So, long story short, guys, in my opinion, 28 Weeks Later is a big example of a film that does deserve a sequel. Absolutely. I'd love to see more of this franchise. And when it comes to what I'm going to do in the meantime, I will keep rewatching my Blu-ray box set of both the movies together, absolutely, because they're great films to watch. I'd recommend these if you've not seen them already, of course, and I definitely, of course, love these because I'm a fan of zombie films, so I'll definitely recommend these if you like zombies, of course, or like creatures similar to zombies, because Danny Boyle insists these aren't zombies, but just, you know, infected, even though they act just like zombies, really, so yeah. But of course, these films are famous for reactivating the zombie genre, of course. So yeah, revitalising it. So yeah. So I'd recommend these films, absolutely, if you haven't seen them. And I'll keep rewatching them in preparation for a third film. With hope we're going to do one, of course. I really hope we'll do a third 28 movie. I'd really love to see that. So yeah. So guys, this is me doing the next episode of Movie of the sequel. I was saying why, in my opinion, 28 Weeks Later deserves a sequel. Also, you know, drill, guys, be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to let me know in the comments what you guys think of 28 Weeks Later. Do you need a sequel, or comments what you think? Also, be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe in the future. If you would like to be a member, you can return using a piece of that, or you can lower the description, and I'll see you all later.